Welcome back to our course on FinTech Foundations and Overview. In this module, we're talking about FinTech applications, and in this last session, we're kind of wrapping up our applications by talking about infrastructure, tools, and logistics. Now, to some extent, you might say, well, why is this FinTech? I mean, this is logistics, or this is tools that do things that don't feel like finance or infrastructure that's back end and invisible. I thought fintech was about a revolution in consumer feeling or convenience or, well, partly. And partly it's about technology and partly it's about changing industry structure. These are infrastructure capabilities or tools or logistics that are leveraging the technologies of fintech, the capabilities of fintech, and have the potential to change our world. And so some of the companies involved think of themselves as fintech companies, and investors think they're fintech companies, and they have the power to transform markets the way fintech companies do. So let me give you some examples of what are we talking about here. What do we mean? Let me get down to a little details, just a couple. There are literally hundreds of companies in this space of tools, logistics, infrastructure, fintech startups in one way or another. And there's even more activities going on in large firms who may consider themselves to be banks, insurance companies, or other financial services companies that don't think of themselves as part of startups or fintech, but think of themselves as traditional finance. And they're also involved in infrastructure, tools, or logistics using technologies normally associated with fintech. So let's talk about the first. Spout. Spout integrates more than 700 financial institutions via an API or application programmer interface that allows secure development across different platforms, iOS and Android and web, with highly secure bank-level encryption. So this enables banks to share data, share apps, share information about users, allows users to have portability for data so that you can take your data from your bank to your mortgage company and share detailed financial information in ways that wouldn't have been possible before. Now, some banks may say, why on earth would I want to share my customer data? Well, you wouldn't if you're the dominant player. You wouldn't if you're the biggest bank. But if you're the third or fourth largest bank, you may say that could give me an advantage. Maybe I'm not as integrated as another bank, but I can integrate with a mortgage company, an insurance company, and other fintech companies, a payroll processing company, or other things, and I can be virtually bigger than I am by integrating with others in a large network. And so this is a shared economy way of interconnecting financial institutions in a secure way. That's backend, that's infrastructure, and it's clearly fintech. Another company in the fintech world that's looking at integrating across different institutions and platforms is looking at demist data, or demist data is the company. They're looking at demystifying your data. And so what they're looking at integrating is your company data with social media, with other online databases, with other information, so that with this integrative approach, they've been able to process more than 30 million profiles for peer-to-peer lenders in the UK and the US, or banks in Asia, where there may not be as much credit sharing or database, and you're trying to get some sense of, should I be loaning? If you are a huge company like Alibaba, maybe you have all that data internally. Maybe you have enough, or your Tencent/WeChat. Maybe you have enough data where you don't need a demist data. You can do all of that yourself. But for many companies, they want to reach out to the world and find out more of what's out there. And demist is saying, we can do that for you. We can make your data match with other databases or other sources of data to help you with data mining and analysis and prediction of risk, profiles, profitability, and do things with data that you couldn't necessarily do on your own as well, a FinTech tool. In terms of other FinTechs, another company, Gusto, is almost in an area you would say, why is this FinTech? Because they started out in human resources and in sort of payroll processing. They started out as Zen Payroll. They've changed their name to Gusto in 2015 after they added on a variety of human resources and benefit additions where they're doing insurance and uh, and other HR type benefits, leave, other accounting. They're providing a lot of these functions for payroll and HR and other benefits for employees as a service, selling essentially a platform as a service, PaaS, to companies working with them and saying, we will be your whole back end. And in this, they're doing some of the work that accounting firms might have done or accounting software might have done in competition with this, or some of the activities that might have been done by some types of financial services firms. But they're integrating this into a lot of other services which are on the personnel or HR side. It makes them an interesting company, and clearly a company that many people view as being in the FinTech space, even though you could argue, is this really Fin? Or is this just kind of tech? But they're also looking for ways to integrate more tightly into your accounting systems, your finance systems, and so provide better interface, better capability, better services. It's an interesting tool, infrastructure, or capability.